The rise of the left. What Gustavo Petro's win could mean for Colombia and Latin America. A major shift has taken place in Colombian politics since Gustavo Petro was elected president. As a former member of the guerrilla group M19, Petro has long fought for social justice, recognition of indigenous and afro-descendant rights, peacebuilding, and a transition to new energy models. As a result of his 50.44% victory over Rodolfo Hernández in the presidential election, Colombia and Latin America have reached a turning point. Together with Francia Márquez, a lawyer, activist, and current vice president, Petro promises to transform Colombia, establishing a Ministry of Equality and reforming labor, taxation, and energy systems. After Gustavo Petro is elected president, how can Latin America change? Here, we'll talk about 3 ways Petro's administration could alter Colombia and Latin America. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel so that we can create more content like this, sharing knowledge on Latin America. In his swearing-in address, Gustavo Petro referred to Colombia's need for transformation on a political, social, and economic level. Even fashion has changed as a result of the recent change in government. As an example, Senator María José Pizarro wore a garment that featured the portrait of her father, Carlos Pizarro León Gómez, who led the M19 guerrilla movement. Senator Pizarro gives Petro the presidential sash as a symbol of hope for future endeavors, in addition to celebrating a victory for M19 and the left political project. The sword of Simón Bolvar was another significant symbol used during the ceremony. At the start of his inaugural address as President of Colombia, Petro stated, "This sword signifies too much for us, and I want it to never be buried again." Bolivar's sword is the sword of the people, he later declared. Simón Bolvar is a symbol of Latin America's emancipation from oppression. It is currently the foundation of political discussions in Venezuela and a recurrent theme in South American political movements. Without a doubt, Petro's act serves as a reminder of Latin America's powerful political symbols and a role model for other presidents. What changes might be brought about in Latin America by the political use of fashion and the people's victory? Gustavo Petro's election may represent a success for the left in view of Colombia's historical ascent of the political right, which has implied the continuation of inequality, violence, and inequity. Additionally, it would inspire numerous social movements to embrace progressivism and adopt political aesthetics, like fashion, in order to uphold rights. Petro has advocated modifications to the election process for officials in ministries and embassies ever since he assumed the presidency of Bogotá. Native American and Afro-Colombian political figures and leaders stand out when it comes to embassies. For instance, when Colombia's ambassador to the UN was chosen, Leonor Zalabata made history as the first indigenous woman to do so. Another noteworthy event is the election of ministers. For instance, the mining ministry appointed philosopher Irene Velez Torres. Velez Torres is a philosopher who graduated from Colombia's National University and has completed doctoral work in political geography and cultural studies. Currently, Velez Torres plans to oversee Colombia's transition to clean energy. A post in the ministry that was previously held by an engineer or an economist is now led by a philosopher, echoing the principles of Gustavo Petro about democratizing knowledge and public roles. The administration of Petro is committed to fighting climate change and connects itself with other leftist and progressive regional energy transformation efforts. Social groups and organizations from civil society have embraced the idea of democratizing knowledge throughout Latin America. In leftist regimes, with the exception of Bolivia, the concept has never before been applied to ministerial positions and positions of political authority. Because of this, Petro's election could result in the democratization of knowledge spreading throughout all of Latin America, which could result in a significant shift in politics. It is generally acknowledged that Francia Márquez was crucial to Petro's victory in the Colombian presidential election. The Afro-Colombian attorney is a feminist and environmental activist who has battled for the recognition of the rights relating to Colombia's cultural diversity, especially those of various racial and ethnic groups, women, and LGBTQI+ people. From her position, Márquez has been instrumental in the establishment of the Ministry of Equality, which works to make up for historical injustices that various sectors of the population have encountered in Colombia. It's also important to note that Francia Márquez, the first Colombian woman from an ethnic minority group to hold the office of vice president, has raised the bar for inclusive politics in Latin America. Since a Minister of Equality has never been proposed before, this could signal a change toward effective inclusive administrations across the continent. The victory of Petro is viewed as a sign of transformation for Colombia and Latin America. Petro has proven his dedication to social justice and reform by participating in the swearing-in ceremony and the election of authorities. To realize his pledges of meaningful change for Colombia, he must yet overcome two obstacles. First, Petro has shown difficulty adjusting to the gender norm and embracing the demands of the feminist and women's movements. For instance, Petro was well known in the past for endorsing Holman Morris, who was charged with sexual harassment and gender abuse in court, as a candidate for mayor of Bogotá. Although Claudia López, the current mayor of Bogotá, rejected Morris' bid for office, many activists are skeptical that Petro can now guarantee equality for women as president. Second, Petro needs to deal with markets and owners of companies of all sizes. However, many business executives are skeptical about his proposed tax change. According to some of them, the reform is characterized by a tax populism that would ultimately penalize the middle class while retaining the wealthiest parts of the population that do not pay taxes appropriately. Consequently, despite the possibility that Petro's administration may usher in change for Colombia and Latin America as a whole, they still face challenges that may make their good intentions ineffective. If you've liked videos like this, please subscribe to our channel to help us grow. Our goal is to become one of the leading channels on sharing our love for the great region of Latin America.